Humans have 22 pairs of autosomes, 1 pair of sex chromosomes, and also chromosomes in mitochondria. About 3.3 billion pairs of information in chromosomes determine a person's traits. If you have Y on your sex chromosome, you are male. Mutations that occur once in males are continuously passed on to offspring, and repeated mutations are also cumulatively inherited. By comparing and tracing mutation polymorphisms on the Y chromosome, the lineage of the paternal line can be traced. As a result of tracing the Y chromosome, there was a paternal common ancestor for all humans living today. The most recent paternal common ancestor, by the Y chromosome, is called the Y-chromosome Adam. Studies have shown that the Y-chromosome Adam lived in Africa 270,000 years ago. DNA in mitochondria is inherited only through the maternal line, and the most recent maternal common ancestor, by mitochondrial DNA tracking, is called mitochondrial Eve. By tracing this genetic information, the human movement path can be traced. The human migration route, through mitochondrial DNA, was introduced in another video. This video traces the migration path of the Y-chromosome Adam descendants, and shows where we are today. In humans, each DNA pair is inherited from each parent. One of the pair is called a haplotype. Haplogroups are groups of similar haplotypes that share mutations. The HARP group belonging to the Y-chromosome Adam was first divided into A and BT groups 150,000 years ago, and then again divided into B and CT groups 100,000 years ago. The date is recorded as the earliest possible year. CT is divided into D group and CF group again, 100,000 years ago. Group DE and CF form groups D, E, C, and F again 75,000 years ago, respectively. Our closest ancestors today lived on the continent of Africa between 100,000 and 50,000 years ago. Few of these groups venture out of Africa to discover new worlds. Groups C and F, descendants of the CF group, are the main groups outside Africa. Part of the D1 group, descended from D, also leaves Africa and goes to uncharted Eurasia. Groups A, B, E and D2 remain in Africa. So we can say that the CF group is the Y-chromosome Adam of people living on the Eurasian continent today. Those who left the African continent for the first time spread throughout the Eurasian continent. When did they leave Africa and where did they go? And what descendants, and where? Let's travel together by following their trail on the map. Unlike the mitochondrial Eve, which lived in the east, the Y-chromosome Adam is estimated to have lived in Western Africa, between 270,000 and 250,000 years ago. That time was the Ice Age. It is thought that they, who lived a hunter-gatherer life, moved to the east together along the movement route of their prey. During the Ice Age, Europe and North America had huge continental ice sheets. There were also ice sheets in the Himalayas, northeastern Asia, and near the Kamchatka Peninsula. The maximum height reached 3,000 kilometers. The location of the continental ice sheet is marked in white on the map. Ice Age sea level was about 120 meters lower than it is today. The model that NASA created the appearance of the Earth, when the ocean drained, was displayed on the map as a reference. The vicinity of the Gulf of Aden was almost detached, and the Persian Gulf was connected by land. So mankind could follow this route to South Asia. There was also a land connection between Java and Borneo, and New Guinea and Australia were also connected by land. Taiwan and the western part of the Korean peninsula were all connected by land. Also, Bering He was a land at this time. It was all land until 15,000 years ago, when the glaciers began to melt. It is now sunk under the sea, but there may be traces of a huge human race. So, shall we go on a trip again? Haplogroup CF leaves Africa and forms a CF group somewhere in the south of West Asia. Haplogroup CF is a group also known as CFP143. Its earliest appearance is estimated at 75,000 years ago. The first place of origin is unknown, but it is presumed to be between East Africa, the origin of CT, the immediate ancestor, and South Asia, the origin of its descendants. Looking at the existence and distribution of the clade, most males from Eurasia, Oceania and the Americas are included in the CF haplogroup. The direct ancestor is CT and the direct descendants are haplogroups C and F. Haplogroup DE are brothers. No living haplogroup CF has been found to date. The screen you see now shows the location where the haplogroup CF gene group was discovered. Estimated time of living indicates the earliest age. The letter marked in the box is the presumed location of the first appearance, and the arrow indicates the movement route. The moving letters along the migration pathways that follow indicated the major mutant populations. The distribution of each haplogroup and the detailed movement route will be introduced in detail through another video. In this video, I hope you understand the overall flow of human movement. Part of the CF group crosses the Persian Gulf into South Asia, and another part goes to West Asia. F, a descendant of the CF group, appeared in South Asia 62,500 years ago. In Western Asia, the C group appears 53,000 years ago. Haplogroup F, also known as FM89, is a very common group, accounting for 90% of non-African paternal lineages. Males with the FM89 gene belong to the haplogroup HIJK, a direct descendant. Other direct descendants of F are F1, F2, and F3. They are called the F-para group because they have not been given any additional unique marks. Many types of descendants came from F. Haplogroups I, J, and K came from group F, and haplogroups M, N, O, P, R, S, L and T are descendants of haplogroup K. Let's take a look at how these descendants spread out into the world through a map. Group C, born 53,000 years ago, travels to Europe, Australia, and Siberia. During this time, some of the descendants of Group K leave for New Guinea. The O group, which occurred between 36 and 40 million years ago, spreads to East Asia. Group P advances to Central Asia through the Taklamakan Desert. According to a study by Clark and Perter et al., the last glacial maximum began in 33,000 years. During this time the ice sheets were the largest, covering northern Europe, North America, and Asia. And severe droughts, desertification, and lower sea levels have had a serious impact on the planet's climate. Continental glaciers were at their widest 26,500 years ago. During this time, many large mammals become extinct. Hominids were no exception. Neanderthals and Denisovan could not survive this period and disappeared. Only a few sapiens survived. According to studies by scholars, the population at this time was only 10,000. Fortunately, thawing began gradually in the northern hemisphere between 19,000 and 20,000 years ago. As the glacier begins to melt, the descendants of the Q group, whose ancestors are from the P group, spread to Siberia and northern Europe. From the QR group, the R group is born, and they enter Europe and occupy the region. The descendants of groups Q and C, who stayed near Siberia, cross the Bering Sea to the North American continent. An ice corridor opens between the Laurentide and Cordilleran ice sheets. So the descendants of group Q were able to cross over to South America. Also, descendants of the Q group who lived in Central Asia advanced to the Scandinavian peninsula. Let's stop traveling for a moment and look at climate change over the past 15,000 years. In 15,000, the Earth's temperature rose rapidly, reaching its present temperature around 14,500. Then the temperature suddenly drops and it becomes cold. 12,000 years ago, that is, around 10,000 BC. After that, the cold lasts for 1,000 years. This period is called the Younger Dryas period. Melted water from the North American ice sheet flows into the Atlantic Ocean. And scientists have found that it stopped the thermohaline cycle and cooled the Earth. The Younger Dryas era is the greatest turning point in human history. The Neolithic Age began, coincident with the time when hunter-gatherers first settled and began farming. It was the time of the agricultural revolution. Grain is first domesticated, goats and sheep begin to be domesticated. This will lead to a major change in the way of life of mankind. The first human settlements were in the Levant. Ironically, the period when mankind first settled, and the agricultural revolution took place was the period of greatest ordeal for men. Surplus production begins when crops are cultivated and livestock are raised. They live in a group to keep and protect them. You will also need an army and a nation will be created. Although it is not transmitted in the records, it is believed that there were many conflicts by analogy with the battlefield record since the historical period. It happened between 10,000 and 5,000 years ago, when we entered the Neolithic and Bronze Age. In a paper published in the April 2015 issue of Genome Research, interesting research results can be found to support this. During this period, the genetic diversity of women increases significantly, while the genetic diversity of men decreases sharply. It's not just happening in one area, it's happening all over the world. This graph means that only a small group of male genes were passed on to the next generation. This is probably because the wars increased, and the men who were defeated in the war were slaughtered, and only the genes of the winners were passed on to their descendants. Isn't that a surprising result? Archaeological excavations also support the findings of this study. Let's go on our last trip again. A former R1b group that lived in Western Asia migrated to Europe 4,000 years ago. Some of them migrate back to Africa. As a result of the study, people who lived in Europe 10,000 years ago, and those living today have completely different genes. A group that migrated 4,000 years ago replaced the group that had lived earlier. These are the R groups that lived near West Asia, the Black Sea, and the Caspian. So far, it has been a long time travel of 270,000 years. Thank you for being with us. If you subscribe and set notifications, you can receive new video news. See you in another video.